Whew, I'm exhausted. You know, 9 out of 10 times when you want to work out, when you have to work out, you really don't want to. But 10 out of 10 times, you're really glad you did. But this video isn't about workout, this video is about HTML. So let's jump into it. Okay, so this is a very short course about HTML. Actually, it's a crash course. We're not going to go into CSS or something like that, or any advanced HTMLs like the meta tags. This is a course for beginners. And this course is either to refresh your memory or just to find out what the heck HTML is all about. Now, HTML is actually the skeleton of the web page. Like me, I have a skeleton, and I have color, and I have clothing, and that would be CSS. So all you need in order to understand HTML, and all you need in order to write HTML is some basic PC or Mac knowledge, and you actually have to have one, physical I mean, and one of these two browsers, which I would recommend. So either Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. Opera is and please don't use Internet Explorer or Edge because they're oh my god. Okay, continuing on. So what is HTML? It is not a programming language. HTML is a hypertext markup language. And basically we're just typing in text and the browser acknowledges it as HTML. And in order for us to write this text, we need to create a document, and this document must have a .html extension. And HTML is structured with elements. For example, these are elements. This is a content division tag, an h1 tag, paragraph tag, and many tags within HTML. Now, these tags normally have an opening and a closing tag. And within these two tags, there's the content. So when you want to write something and to want to wrap it into a tag, you always put the content between the opening and the closing tag. And the closing tag has this / in it. So opening and closing brackets, the name of the tag, and then a / in order to close the tag. There are a few empty tags, for example, the image tag and the anchor tag, but they are also followed by attributes. So for example, this anchor tag has an href of sending us to Google Chrome. So this is the path. If we would click on this content, this would be linked and this will send us to Google. So how does an HTML look and how is it structured? Well, an HTML is wrapped within these two HTML tags, the opening and the closing HTML tag, and it has two parts to it. So it has the head part and the body part. And what we see within a web page is always within the body. So everything that is within the opening and closing body tag will be displayed in the web browser. And everything that is in the head tag will be the page information. So in order the browser to know what is this page all about. So you will have your title, your links, your meta tags, everything is within this head, opening and closing tag. Now a short history about HTML. The first version was released in 1993. Then in 95 came the HTML 2.0. In 97 the 3.0, then a 4.0. Yep. And we are currently within HTML5, and this is how we declare an HTML5 document. So we'll write this HTML doc type within our document, and the browser would know, okay, this is an HTML5 document. Now, moving on. As I said, there are opening and closing tags. Most of the HTML tags have them. And there are also HTML tags that don't have closing tag, like for example, the image tag, as I said. And there are also block level or inline. One example of an inline would be this label and input tag or a span tag, where I have there, it is the span tag. So moving on, writing and editing HTML. As I said, it's not a programming language, so you don't need some complicated software in order to write it. Actually, you could write HTML within a notepad. So just open and create a text document and start writing your HTML. Now, there are some text editor programs like Visual Studio Code, which is my preferred one, Atom, Sublime Text, Brackets, and Notepad++. So this is not the normal Notepad, this is the ++. So moving on. So HTML has a few semantic tags, and these are some specific HTML5 semantic tags like the header, nav, main, section, article, summary, aside, footer. And these are just a few of them because there are roughly 100 something semantic tags within HTML5. And this is how normally a page is built up. So we would have your header, then a navigation, then a main section, which would contain everything within here, then some sections within it, some articles and a side maybe, and down here you will have a footer where we put in your copyright, your social media tags, your information, what you would normally see in a web page. Okay, so it's time for us to write some HTML or create our first HTML document. And on a last note, this whole document here is not a PowerPoint slide, it's in a web browser. And this is actually an HTML with some CSS to it. Some buttons that have some actions. So this is also creating HTML and using just a bit of CSS. Okay, let's create our first HTML. Now, I already have this open, but we will get in this a bit later on. So creating our first HTML document, you just right click on your desktop or wherever you want to create it and call this first HTML document. And then delete that text and type in .html. And it already changed it in your default browser. For me is Google Chrome. And if you double click on it, it will open your HTML document. Now let me make this smaller and also right click on the document that you created and then not send, but open with Notepad. So let's type something in here. Let's type in here my first HTML document. Now, either go to File and save it or hit Ctrl S. Then you would go into a browser and click on the refresh button. And there you have it. Your first HTML page is actually a web page. You can see it's declared as HTML. Now let's write in here, for example, this is my first web page. Hit save, hit refresh again. And as we can see, these two, although they are on different lines within our document, they are node text editor, within here they are inline. Now let me first show you the h1 tag. So in order to create a tag, you type in here h1 and then close it /h1. Now hit Ctrl S, go back into your web browser, hit refresh, and you can see the text changed. Because we gave this text an h1 tag, now the web browser reads it as an h1. And specific to the h1 is you can see the font is different, or the font size. The font weight is also different, so it's bold or bolder than our text. It's larger and bolder than our text. And it also has a bit of padding or distance between these two. As you can see, if I would type, I would just copy in here. Well, let's just type, this is my first text. Hit save again, reload it in our page. These two are the same, but if I would wrap this, actually this one, within a paragraph tag, and at the end of it, close the paragraph tag, hit save, refresh, you can see this is put down here, although they are still inline within our text editor. Now, the paragraph tag is also a block level element, and that means that it takes up all of its space. So it doesn't leave any space for anything else. H1 is also a block level element. If you just type in a simple text, it will be always inline. Now, we created our document here, and we called it first HTML document. As you can see, the title of the page, so this is the title, is first HTML document. And as you can remember, I said that everything that is in the head tag, and just copy this, isn't displayed to the user. So if I would want to change the title here, I would just create a head tag and then create a title tag. Let's copy this title tag. It's the opening and now the closing tag. And let's say that this is my web page. Now if I would hit save here, reload, and just take a look up here, what will happen if I reload? The title of the page changed. So we told our HTML that this is actually the title of the page and disregard the document. The document here still stays first HTML document.html, but the page now has a clearly defined title. Okay, that's enough with our text, with our notepad. Let's go into Visual Studio Code and create another HTML document. And for this, you just need to go to code.visualstudio.com/download. And you will land on this page. Now, if you are on Windows, you would download the Windows installer. If you are on Linux, take the Linux installer. If you're on Mac, download the Mac installer. This doesn't make any difference. Now, after you have downloaded it, open up your Visual Studio Code and you will be prompted with this greeting page. Let me just make this, we can actually close this. Make this a bit bigger, a bit larger. And a couple of things that I would recommend to install for the first time. So let's just take a look here. This is our file explorer. We don't have any files within here yet. This is the search. So if we had any files within here and we will search for something, this would pop up here. And this is the marketplace. Now within the marketplace, you can download and install a few extensions, and these are really helpful. Now for this course, I would like you to install the code spell check, because if you spell something wrong within the text editor, it will have an error. The HTML and CSS support code, you just type in here HTML and CSS support and it pops up. So it's pretty easy. A really important thing that you need is this live server. And you may recall that we constantly needed to hit refresh here in order to reload our page. Well, this takes care of it. This will automatically reload our page. Okay, so if you have everything installed, let's first of all create a folder. We go to our desktop again. Create a folder. Let's call this my first web page. Now, within Visual Studio Code, you can either click File, Open Folder, or you can just take the folder, drag it within here, and you're good to go. Now, within Visual Studio Code, there are two ways to create files. Either you go into your folder, right-click, Create New File, and you will create your file, or just when you're within your folder, right-click here, New File, or just hit this New File icon. And there's also the New Folder icon. So let's create our first file. Let's call this My First Web Page. .html. As you can see, as soon as I put in the .html, this icon appears. Now let's hit enter, and we got our first HTML page. Actually make this larger. Oh no, we want to also see this. And move it to the side here. Okay, so we said that an HTML is wrapped with an HTML document, is wrapped within two HTML tags, an opening and closing tag. And the basic structure of it was that we needed a head, and within here we needed a title, and we'll call this My Web Page. And underneath our head we need a body tag. Now within our body tag, let's just open this. Right click within here, or right click on the document and say Open with Live Server. If you click this, this will open up our web page within our preferred web browser. Now I have this open up in Mozilla, not in Chrome. If you have Chrome installed, it will open up in Chrome. If you don't have Chrome installed or Mozilla Firefox, then install them. Okay, let's create our first head h1 tag. For this, we just type in h1, hit enter, because it already has it automatically installed Emmet, and Emmet helps us with this shortcut, so it would recognize you type in just an H. For example, if I type in here h2, to recognize it. Oh, he means actually that he wants to create an h2 tag. Okay, let's type it in here that this is a h1 tag, comma, this is the largest tag, actually largest h tag. Now a short note, I have within my settings, so if you click down here, settings, and if you type in save, go to the edit settings JSON, actually not here. Woohoo. Well, actually you should type in autosave. So autosave. And you need to check this after delay. So if you type, you normally had it, so the default value is off, but do this after delay. It is automatically refresh your page after a short delay. Okay, now back in our editor, we will copy this a few times. This is h1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 times. Perfect. Now let's take the first, double click on it, then hold down the Control key, then the D. And this will select the first 3. Now we will change this into an H2, and this will change all the 3 selected. I'll do this for the next one. H3. The next one will be H4. Oh, actually, wait just a second. This would be H4. Then H5. H6. And the last one will be H7. Okay, let's hit save, or it's already saved. Now let's go through this really quickly. So within HTML, there are 6 H1 tags, six H tags, the H1, the H2, the H3, 4, 5, and 6. There is no H7 tag. If you type in a H7 tag, this will automatically result in a paragraph tag. So there are only 6 tags, and you can actually put in here a comment. And the way we put in comments, now comments do not appear in the web page. Doesn't matter if you put them in the head or the body, they will not appear. So the way we write comments is typing in this exclamation mark, slash slash, minus minus, and we can write in our comments here. You write within here H1 to H6. I can actually give this a title, H1, H1 to H6 tags. HTML. And because this is the title of our page, I would just push it to the middle of the page. Now, as said, there is no CSS within this HTML crash course, but now I will just give this a style tag, which is an attribute, and an attribute is always a key value, key pair value. So attribute has always the key and its value, and the style would be text align center. So this attribute has so we give it an attribute, a text align, this is the attribute, and the value is center. So an attribute is a key value pair. But we'll learn more about this in a CSS course. Okay, so I believe the H tags are clear now. Now let's move quickly on to the paragraph tag. Now we just copy this. I will type in here. Paragraph tag. And because I don't want you to look at the bottom of the page because this would be filled up, I will put down here a div with a style padding top of 20 viewport heights. And this should push everything that I write above this to the top. Okay, the paragraph tag. So the way we declare a paragraph tag is by typing P, and within here you can type in anything. So just some gibberish text, and we'll have our first paragraph. As you can see, this is the same height, font size, and font weight as this. As I said, there is no H7 tag. Now, a short note, we'll create here another paragraph. This a dummy text within HTML, and it's called lorem ipsum actually. So if you type in lorem and hit enter, this will give us this dummy text. And with the lorem ipsum, I'll create here another one. If you want to create a specific length of a dummy text, you can type in lorem and then the length of the words that you want to create. So if I would type in here lorem 10, this would give me only 10 words within lorem ipsum. Now let's take a look at some styling tags. For example, if I would want this part of the text to be bold, I could just wrap this within a B tag like this. Cut this out and close it within here. This would turn our lorem ipsum into bold. Or you could also use, let's just take another example for here, a strong tag. And this does basically the same thing. So the B and the strong tag turn our text into bold. And as you can see, this is not a block level element, but it's an inline element. This means it remains within this. If I would turn this B into a content division tag and hit enter, this will push the next content onto the next level down. Let's go back here and leave it as it is. Now there's another tag. For example, turning this dollar into italic, I would just use the EM tag, or the emphasize tag. This would tell the browser that this part of the text should be emphasized, turned italic. There's also the I tag. This would do basically the same thing, as you can see, or wait just a second. I would put it within here. So this, but it's more often used as an icon tag. Another pretty useful tag is, for example, if you want to push this part down, we could use a break tag. So where is this? Here, I would just type in BR, and if I hit enter, this will be pushed down to the next line. If I would type within here that I want to have this separated by a line, I will use the HR tag, or this would take a line, and this is actually a block level element. Although it has only an opening and no closing tags, also the BR tag has only an opening tag and no closing tag. So this will separate the content with a line through. Okay, another example would be the span tag. This has an opening and closing tag, and it's an inline element. And span tags are pretty useful when we want to just style something style our content within the content without changing the content, without changing the whole content. Now let's take a look at some tag attributes. So just take this, copy it down here, and we'll type in here tag attributes. And for this I will create another paragraph tag and put in some lorem ipsum within here. Actually I could just close this. And let's put something in here, so HTML. Okay. Now we'll first take a look at the anchor tag. And what the anchor tag does, so first of all, it has an opening and a closing tag, and it also has this automatic attribute, this href. And this would, so if I take this lorem, cut it out, paste it in here. I hope you know that Ctrl X is cut and Ctrl V is paste and Ctrl C is copy, and again Ctrl V is paste. So I copied in my lorem within these two anchor tags. Actually it's one anchor tag with one opening and closing tag, and as you can see it changed its color and it has this underline. This means that this is a link, and if I would click on it, well, nothing would happen. I could actually put this hash within it. It will always stay on the same page. But now I could tell it to go, for example, to https // google.com. Now if we save this and now click on the lorem. This will take us to Google. And now a really quick example for this span tag that we have here. So let's just create another spam. Doesn't matter where I put it in. Create here a span tag. Take this content, put it within here. And let's give this span a class. So classes are the way that we become more specific about our tags. Because if you want to style something in CSS later on, only taking the tag is not specific enough. We have the ID, which is the most specific, then class. Actually, that's it. ID, class, and then tag. With the class, we are within the specificity order, not as high as within our ID, but we can do more things with classes. Or actually, almost the same things. But there are circumstances where you would use class instead of an ID. So let's give this a class of my first class. And if you want to style this evenit, then we'll take our class, just copy this, it's the class name, go up here within our head and create a style tag. And within our style tag, when we want to call a class, we type in dot and then the class name. And then within curly brackets, we could tell it to have the color red. And as you can see, without changing anything within the content, we changed this evenit from black to red. Now we could also do the same thing within our HTML by telling that this span class, this span tag should have a style of color red. And if I would comment this out, really quick note, as I said, if you want to create a comment, you would type in this. Actually, not within the CSS. So if you want to create a comment, you can type in this. But there's also a shortcut for creating a comment by holding down Control and then the /. So Control / and it automatically creates our comment. Now within CSS, comments are declared as following. So ****. And if you want something to no longer have an effect, we could comment it out. So by doing this and taking out this, so taking out this, so comment this out and take out this style. You see it changed back to its original color, but if I would put this back again and change it to blue, now the color would be blue. So this is just to show you that we can style our HTML within our HTML, so within here. But this is not the recommended way. The recommended way is within CSS. So let's take a look at another tag, the image tag. For this, we would just type in image, and this would ask us for a source and an alternative name. So this alternative name will appear if the image is missing. So if I would type in here my image and hit save, this will be the placeholder for the image. Now in order for us to put in image within here, we need to tell it the source. Now I already chose an image and I would just copy it in. We just drag and drop images within here. Close this up. And I would also leave the entire copy of this HTML document in the description below so you can download it, and also the image to this. So if you want to insert an image in our HTML tag, then we just need to tell it its path. As you can see, the image is too large, but that's not a problem. We will just go within here and tell it that the width, this is a property, be only, let's say, 400 pixels. There you go, we have our image with 400 pixels. We could also tell it to have a height of 400 pixels. This will stay the same because the image is rectangular, but if you wanted to squish it together, we could change this to 200 pixels. And this would squish the image together. Now I would leave it at 400 on 400. So basically what this means that we only give this a width to take out the width. The height of it took automatically from the image's own properties. Now another thing that we could do is we could take our image and wrap it in within an anchor tag. So I would say A, cut this out and put it after the image tag. And now if we hover our image, you see this pointer appears. If we click on it, nothing happens. But now within our href, we can now tell it to go somewhere. And this would mean that if we would click on an image, it would send us to another web page. Now we could tell it to go again to Google, or for example, I would just paste in here my web page, and if I would hit save and click on it, this would take me to my web page. And within here is a shameless plug. This is my Udemy HTML and CSS and JavaScript course. Let's take a look at tables. We create here an H2 and HTML tables. In order for us to create a table, we just call the HTML tag of tables. Now this is only a tag for the table. In order for us to create a table, we need a th or table head, and underneath this we could also have a t-body, a table body. And the table head would need some cells. So in order to do this, we create a td. This would be the table cell, and we could type in here, let's say a name. Let's copy this a few times, a age, and a gender. As you can see, we have within our head these three cells. Now within our table body, we need also to type in 3 cells. I could just copy this. And for the name, I would just say Norbert. Then age 44, gender male. Now if we want to create another cell, we just copy this, put it underneath here. In order for us to create another row, we need to wrap this table information, so these TDs, into a TR. Cut out this and put it within here. Now copy this, so this would be the next row, and this would be Laura 31, and gender would be female. And there you go, there's your first table. Now, tables are not that useful in HTML anymore because tables are only used for tabular data and nothing else more. Now next up, let me just copy this. We'll take a look at lists. There are two types of lists within HTML. Let me just create an H3 here, a ordered list and a unordered list. For the ordered list, you just type in OL, and a list needs to have list items. So LI is for list item. You can already see that this gives us a 1. And if we type in here tomato, then copy this a few times, orange, banana, and so far and so on. So you get the idea. The ordered list has numbers to it. Now a unordered list, for which we type in the tag of UL, also has list items, so LI, and within here we just type in, we just say something and something a few times. As you can see, the unordered list only has these bullet points to it. And with CSS, you could also style this. But what is interesting about ordered and unordered lists within normal HTML, you see they already pushed a bit to the right and had some margins and padding to them. Now this is a perfect chance for us to take a look at the developer tools. I'm just going to make this larger, and by hitting F12 on your keyboard or right clicking and going to inspect element, you will open up the developer tools. And then you can see if I hover over this is actually our HTML. You can see HTML opening, and down here the HTML closing tag. And everything here is within the body tags, and up here is within the head tags. If you hover over this, you can see I'm going down within our elements. So let's take first look at this H1 tag, which is actually here. If I click on it, in the right side of the screen, you can see that it automatically has a margin, a border, some padding, actually 0 padding, and within here is the content, and it has a height and a width. As you can see, it is a block level element because it takes up, so wait a second, click on this item here, this is the element picker, click on this. Now if you go up here, you can see that it takes up the entire width of the page. Now if you go down on the H2, I click on this, the H2 is selected. And we see that it also has margin, 0 padding, and element height and width. Now if you go further down and select our ordered list here, or actually unordered list, so down here, as you can see, it has 30 padding to the left of it, so here, and we could actually change this to, let's say, 60 or 600 within here, or we could style it with CSS further on. Okay, so let's move on and close this up. And the last thing we're going to take a look at are forms. Now, you see forms everywhere within these days. Forms are where you fill out your name, your email address, your age, your gender, you sign up for things, you know, forms. So in order for us to create a form, just type in form. And a form always has an action and a method. Now for the method, we'll first of all type in a get. The difference between get and post is that get is when you're getting information. Post is when you're putting information into a, let's say, a database. Now the get request is not that secured. Take a look at this a bit later on, but for now just remember there are two methods. There's the get and the post method. Now a form needs some inputs. You need somewhere to put in your information. For an input, just type in input, and inputs have these attributes which called types. And the first type that we're going to take a look at is the type of text. Now inputs also have names. We'll name this first name. And as you can see, we already have our input, but we don't know what this input is for. So we could either type in above our input a label, and the label will be for the first name. Copy this within here. And within here, we'll also type in first name. And now we know that this input is for typing in our first name. So we labeled our input. Now as you can see, input and label are within inline. So if I would create another input and another label, so let me just copy this and call this last name. They will still remain within one line. And we could take care of this by typing in a BR tag. And this would break these two inputs within two, or push the second label and input down to the next level. And if we want to have some space within them, we could wrap the first input and label within a div tag and save, and we now have some space between them. Now let's take a look at another type of input. As I said, this input has a type of text. So let me just copy this. Actually, let me wrap this into a div, the second label and input, and copy all of this. Now let's replace our label with email. Now if I would leave this input type as text, it would miss a bit of validation. So for this, I would just replace this with the type of email. And now let's take a look at another input type. Because after we have all our inputs, we want to do something with them. So we're typing here input, and the type for this will be submit. And this will actually give me a submit button, submit your query. If I would click on this, this will now submit our form, but this has no route to go to. But take a look at this. So if I would type in here something, it would ask me for a valid email address. If I would change this to text, so the input type of email changes to text type input, try to submit it, it would work without asking me to type in an email. But I want this to be an email. Another thing that we can do with these input types, oh, and just a short note, we could also give this a value, and for the value, because it's set here submit query, we tell it to be submit. So this would change our input into a submit input, or have the label as submit, or the value. Now we change this to email, so this must be an email address. So I try to submit it, this would let us, we still need the @ try it again, still won't let us because we need something in here, and now it will work. So we have our labels and we have our input, but let's say if we didn't have our labels and we still want to be more recognizable for the user what to do with these inputs, there's something called placeholders. So if you go into our input, we'll just type in placeholder, and within here, let's copy this label, and type in this text here. As you can see, this is grayed out, as soon as I click within here and type something in, it disappears. So let's copy this placeholder and paste it into our last name, and type in here last name. And also for the email address, you could do the same thing. Placeholder email. And for this, we just type it in here. Your email. Not yot. Your email. Now, let's see what happens if I hit the submit. It still works. But we want the user to not be able to submit this form without filling out the information. So he would be required to do something. And actually that's another attribute, the required attribute. So after our placeholder, if we type in within here, required, and hit submit, you can see it already pops up. It already prompts us to fill out this field. So the user can no longer submit this form without filling out this field. And if we only type in within here something, it submits. What is submitis? It's a new word. So it submits. So we need to do this for all our inputs. So they all will be required. So time begins here. Submit doesn't work. In here, submit doesn't work. Email, not a valid email address, and now it submits. Now, I told you that this is the method was get. As you can see, it sends pretty clearly and visible to everyone that the web page, my first web page, HTML, submitted first name, blah, 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 and last name, blah, blah. So all our information is visible to everyone. So this is why we use a post request. If I change this to post and fill out the form again, so let's say Norbert Meinhardt, some email address, and submit. So take a look up here. Now let's hit submit. You can see everything is hidden, so it doesn't see our name, email, so our credentials are no longer shown. So another type of input that I want to show you is the input, not there. So the last type of input I wanted to show you is the input with the type of date. And this will give us this date ticker. Now there's also the button tag, because you can see this input is actually a button. But buttons don't do that much within just HTML. You would need a bit of CSS or JavaScript for them to be active. So let's just call this click me. And we have a button here, click me. If I click this, nothing happens. So just type in here a bit of JavaScript, so on click. I'll do something, and within here we just tell it to alert. And what should alert it? The string of button click. Let's save this. So if I click this button, it will prompt me this alert. Button has been clicked. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the basics. Okay, so next up we will create a basic landing page using only HTML semantic tags. So we will create a page layout that will look almost like this. Okay, so let's jump into it. And for this, within our folder here, we'll create a new file, and this time we will call this index.html. Now this index is actually the first thing that web pages look for when they look at your entire web page, or actually the servers. You can have many pages within your own web page, but this is the most important one, so the index, and you should always call your main page index. Okay, so after you created your index.html, if you hold down Shift and press the 1 key, you get this exclamation mark. And if we hit enter, this will give us a boilerplate, so a starting plate for our HTML file. And as you can see up here, it is declared as a HTML5 document using this doc type HTML. And there's some basic information within our head, including our title. Now, this you don't have to concern about right now, but what is important, so let me just delete this again. If you hold down Shift and 1, hit enter, this will give you the starting boilerplate. Okay, so let's give this a title of, what should we call it? Landing page. Just HTML landing page. Okay, so we declared our title. So we want this to have a header section. And within our header section, we'll create a nav tag. Then within the nav tag, we create an unordered list and 4 list items. And actually, I want to wrap these list items within an anchor tag. So we create our anchor tag. Type in here hash. So these will stay on the same page when we click on them. Then a list item. And within our list item, we type in home. Actually, I'm going to close this. Now let's copy this a few times. 4 times actually. And the second one we will name blog. Then about. And the last one we will name contact. Now, let's open this within our let's open this with you. Let's try this again. Let's open this with our live server. As you can see, we have this 4 list items that we'll call navigation. And actually I want this header to have, so let's cut out this navigation, paste it in underneath our header, and in our header we will have an H1, and we'll give this a title of landing page. Now underneath our navigation, we'll create a main tag. And within this main tag, we'll create a section for each of our list items. So the first section will have an H2 within it, and we'll call this about. Actually, because we are now at 200, and this is pretty big. Let me leave it this way. So I am referring to the zoom here. I'm pretty much zoomed in so you guys can see this, because this would be at 100 and this is pretty small. So let's stay at 200 so you can actually see what I'm doing here. And I also want to give this section now an ID. I call this about. And you will soon see why. Now within the main and underneath our h2, we'll create a table tag. And within our table tag, we'll create a table head. Then we'll just create a TD. Within this TD, we create an image tag with the source. So we will take the same image that we have within here. So we'll take this image. And we'll again give this a height of, let's say, 400 pixels. And now we'll create another TD. And within this, we'll just place in a Lorem Ipsum text. And I actually wanted to wrap this Lorem Ipsum into an H3. So our dummy text. There we go, to have a bit of boldness and a larger font size. And right after our H3, we'll create now a small tag. And within our small tag, we'll type in since dots 2000 to 2020, 12 actually. Now let's copy this a few times. So from here to here, let's copy this 3 more times. And now I actually need to zoom out a bit because this is getting pretty large. A bit more, and there we go. So this is another interesting tag. Everything that you put in this small tag would be printed small. Even if I would type in here a paragraph tag with a lorem 5, let's say 6, you can see this is larger than this one. So the small tag is actually a tag used for a smaller content. Okay, let's take out this paragraph tag because we don't need this. And so that's it for our table and actually for our about section. Now underneath our about section, we'll create another section, and we'll also give this the ID of blog. And take this blog, go into our section, and create an H2 tag. I'll type in here blog. So this would be the blog section of the page. And within this blog section, we'll create another table tag with a table header. Then let's place some TDs within this. Then H2 of table, actually blog post 1. Then I will put in here a break tag and then continue it with a small tag. And within here, I will type in 2011, 2015, let's say. Actually, I wanted to change this to, this should be, whoa, let me see a few. 2 zeros, this should be 12. 18, this should be 18, 20, let's say. Okay, now back into our block section. So you can see this section ends here. We create another TV. Actually, let's just copy this 3 times, and this would be blog post 2, this would be blog post 3, and this should be in 2018 and 19. So we have our 3 blog posts, and underneath our table head, now we'll create a table body tag. And within our table body tag, let's put in some content, TD with a paragraph of lorem ipsum. And now between the ending paragraph tag and the TD, we'll create an anchor tag, which will now point, well, first of all, point nowhere. And within our anchor tag, we'll create another small tag, and we'll type in here, read more, ... As you can see, this creates this link down here. And now we'll copy this 3 times, actually 2 times, so, and oops. Well, what do you know, Control B, which is right from Control C, opens up this. So with Control B, there's another shortcut for you, okay? Okay, so we have our 3 blog posts, which we can see. No, we only have 2. There's another one. There we go. There we have our 3 blog posts. And read more will do nothing right now. But actually create these blog posts. But for this, first of all, we need to finish our first section here, which would be the contact section. With the ID of contact. And we'll give this the title of contact. Now H3 with get in touch. Misspelled get in touch. And underneath our H3, we just create a form tag, which will have a method of post. So nobody can see our information. Now within our form, we'll create a label tag for the email. And we'll give this a, we'll write it in here, email. And now create an input tag with email. Let's go down here. And we'll say that this should be required and should have a placeholder of your email. And of course, in order to submit our email, we'll now need a input with the type of submit and the value of submit. And now to finish up, we'll create our, actually this is not a section, but let's create our footer tag. So for this, we'll create a footer tag. And within our footer tag, we'll create a powered by. And now this is the, now typing in ampersand and copy, you'll get this copyright symbol. As you can see here, down here we have this copyright symbol by typing in ampersand and copy and ending with a semicolon. Okay, now this looks pretty bad actually. Let me just style it a bit. And for this, I will use a style tag up here. Now I'll first take hold of my head, actually of my header section, the header tag, And the header tag, I just want to have a font size of 2 rem. This will give this a 2 rem font size. And I also wanted to have a text align to the center. So this would push our title to the center. And we also give it a background color. What kind of color did I choose here? Brown. And the color for the text should be then this hash FFF. This will give me a white text. Okay, now I also want all of our h2s to be, this is the difference. If we take a tag, this will assign the attributes to all the tags. So for example, if I take the h2s now, and I tell them to have a text align center, so push all of my h2s to the center, give them a font size, not font align, so font size of 2 rem. Actually, I want all of this. So our section is parted up, and I also will give them a border bottom of 1 pixel solid and the color of 333. It's gonna be a black border. I'll make this 2 pixel, 3 pixel. Yeah, that's more visible. I could also give the entire body. So if I take my body tag, not that. I want to give this a, so we could give this a font family. I missed family of Sergio. This will change the font for the entire body. Now, a couple of things that I also want to change here is to make this do something. First of all, to make this navigation do something. So, we gave this IDs, each section. So we gave this section an ID of blog. So I would take this section, and within here, what was it? I would type in this, and here the about, and here the content. Check this out. If you want to go to the content section, we just click the content. It will take us down to the content section. We take the about. Well, actually it's here, so don't see anything. Well, if I make this larger and I click on the blog, it will take us to the blog. So it's kind of a navigation. Okay, what else did I want to do? Oh yeah, so create a page for each of these blogs, and this is pretty easy. I would just take, let's just go into our HTML, create a new file, call this blog 1.html. Go within here, create a boilerplate. Actually, no, we'll copy in everything from the index, and we will delete a few things. So copy this in. And actually, I just need, so we will leave this. We'll leave the head. We don't need this. We don't need this. We need the footer. So take all of this out. And the only thing we need is to close this section. Change this to blog. Change this to blog. And change this to index.html. Now go back into our index.html document and replace this with our blog. So where we had this href for the read more, we'll type in the location of our blog page. Now if you hit save and I would click on the read more, it will open up the blog page, and we don't have anything in here. So let's just quickly, we don't need you. Boom. Create a few paragraph tags. Lorem 200. It's Lorem 200. And copy this a few more times. And we populated our blog page. So if you want to go back home, we just click the home button, because I replaced this in our navigation in this index page. Actually in this page, I replaced the anchor tag with the index, so the location for the index.html. So I would click on home, it would take me to the index. If I would click on the blog, it would take me here, but I could also tell it to take me to the other page. But I want it to be actually here, so I would click readme to take me to my readme page. Another short thing, so another thing that I wanted to show you, and this would be actually the last. Yeah, I actually wanted to style the footer really quickly. I would do an inline style here. And for this, I would just type in style. And give this a background color of, let's say, this. And the color of the text should be white. And the text align should be center. And there we go. This is almost a ready page. We could also give this some kind of action. So let's say this is required, This submits, but we don't want to do this. We actually want it to take us to a page if we submit it, as if we would submit it. And where was this? Actually here. So within our action, we could copy in our second shameless plug, and if you type and actually wrap this into a div. Why didn't I do this? Because this from here, div, copy this, cut this out, put it in here, and here break this. This will be pushed down a bit. So let's see if this is working. If we hit submit, we would be redirected to my second shameless plug, to my HTML, CSS, and JavaScript course. And that's it. This is our first landing page using HTML and just a bit of styling, guys. So this is really nothing for the CSS. So okay, I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something. As you can see, HTML isn't that complicated, but there's a lot more to it. So if you like this video, thumbs up. If you disliked it, then smash that thumbs down button. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions for future videos. I will also do a basic CSS course and a basic JavaScript course. So see you in the next one. Have a nice one. Bye bye.